The song I Love You Mom was voted the 7th best song by fans in the Phineas and Ferb musical Cliptastic countdown.
Although my brothers make me frantic.
So why is the episode it's from so underrated? Perhaps it's as simple as the fact that the boys' activity and Doofenshmirtz scheme seem relatively tame. Or maybe it's just that we don't find a story about celebrating moms as compelling as a story about building a roller coaster.
Scream if you want more.
In this breakdown of Mom's Birthday, we're going to explore that question and find all the hidden details and Easter eggs you might have missed while watching it. And stick with me, because the very first detail I spotted uncovers an under-discussed plot thread that runs through multiple episodes. You're not going to want to miss it. But before we get started, let me take a moment to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and women out there. I owe so much to my mom, grandmas, and wife. The women in my life are in many ways my rock, and I'm so grateful for them. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. We start with Phineas and Ferb being woken up by Candace's singing early in the morning.
Mom, it's your birthday.
And between their beds is this. Do you recognize it? It's the jackhammer that Ferb uses at Mount Rushmore when they carve Candace's head into the mountain for her birthday. While it might seem like an otherwise random Easter egg, I think this is a clue to the boys' character and their values. Right off the bat, the animators are reminding us of how much care and effort Phineas and Ferb put into making Candace's birthday special for her. And then they spend this whole episode trying to do the same for their mom. This speaks to what matters to them. In both cases, it's important women in their life. They recognize their importance and want to do everything they can to show their love and appreciation. Phineas and Ferb seem to understand a lesson that can take people decades to learn. That our relationships in life are one of the most important things, and that the way we treat others reflects on our character. This is a wholesome episode, and this small hidden detail in the very first scene sets the tone. But the boys are surprised to hear Candace happy and singing in the morning.
Ferb, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Candace singing. Early in the morning.
Presumably, she's not a morning person normally. But Candace is working on writing a song for their mom's birthday. Phineas, Ferb, and Perry sit outside her door and listen and realize that they forgot it's their mom's birthday, even though they have been remembering it all summer long so far.
We can't forget Mom's birthday. 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 Isn't there something I'm supposed to remember?
We get flashbacks to 6 previous episodes with new footage, first from Roller Coaster, and you can see the passenger alignment has changed. Next from Are You My Mummy? Then The Magnificent Few. And this one is interesting because it's actually them in the scene of the movie they were watching on their iPod, not them driving the cattle through Danville. Then Lawn Gnome Beach Party of Terror. Here we see Ferb surfing, but in the original episode it was just Phineas. And then them performing Gucci Gucci Goo. Notably missing here are Candace and the Ferbettes. And lastly, It's About Time. Okay, so after we see them reflecting on their earlier adventures, Phineas mentions that their dad is out of town. Then Candace starts singing again from the beginning, and Phineas says,
I got an idea.
Then we cut away to a different scene, making us think that Phineas's idea here is about making mom's breakfast or one of the other many things they do for her. But actually, this is Phineas having the idea to record Candace's song for their mom. And it's a good thing they did, otherwise it would have been lost to history, as we see later in this episode, thanks to Doofenshmirtz. Then we begin the cycle of the boys outdoing Candace's sincere efforts for her mom. She made her mom eggs and bacon and walks past a Stonehenge picture, presumably a reference to Lawrence's European background. Speaking of Lawrence, apparently while he's out of town, Linda sleeps with a photo of him, which is adorable. And while Candace gently wakes up her mom to say happy birthday, the boys come crashing in and upstage her. Also, I think this visual is hilarious, where they unknowingly smash her behind the door, and the orange juice splatters, making it look like Candace's guts or something. Then Phineas gives her magazines to read and coffee, but pulls down her sleeping mask while telling her to enjoy some reading, which is quite ironic if you ask me.
So relax, enjoy some reading, and no peeking till we come get you.
When they leave, we see what happened to Candace, and it's not pretty. The eggs and bacon make her face look like a frown. Linda says,
Oh, I smell eggs and bacon.
which is probably her smelling the food Candace made. But the very next scene is Phineas and Ferb with an entire cart of breakfast, including eggs and bacon, and also pancakes. So she could have been smelling that. Phineas is making a few calls.
Thank you, Mrs. Garcia Shapiro. We appreciate you helping us out. Oh, another call. Talk to me. Buford, my man.
And we later see both Mrs. Garcia Shapiro and Buford at the house when they surprise their mom. Also, I had to look this up, but Phineas says the piggy bank needs roughage.
Needs roughage. Thanks, Buford. Glad we can count on you.
Apparently, roughage means a type of dietary fiber that helps clear out your system. So that's both clever and a little disturbing in the case of a piggy bank. Then we get this exchange with Candace that illustrates why boys for centuries have been confused by girls.
I'm doing my own thing. Well, aren't you going to ask me what it is?
Sure. What are you doing?
It's a secret.
And Phineas says,
Hey, where's Perry?
when we cut to Perry, we actually get my favorite Easter egg of the entire episode, and one of the ones I'm most proud of finding generally. But we'll get to that a bit later when we break down Perry's plot. For now, let's stick with Candace, who is making a homemade birthday card. And in a blink and you miss it scene, Perry flies by outside her window. As the boys walk their mom to the kitchen for the surprise, we see this photo on the wall. It looks to me like it might be a lawn gnome, continuing the very frequent references to lawn gnomes in this show, including in Phineas's room and most notably as part of Doofenshmirtz's backstory. And they also walk past a photo of what presumably is Big Ben, another European reference for Lawrence. We see both Big Ben and Stonehenge in A Hard Day's Night episode, which technically comes before this one. I'm working on that breakdown right now, but wanted to get this one out first in honor of Mother's Day. Then we get this disturbing and hilarious exchange with Buford.
Made with love and sweat.
And by sweat, you mean hard work.
Sure.
And right as Candace goes to give Mom her homemade card, the boys one-up her again with a giant birthday card, which Ferb sums up for us.
It's a simple postmodern fusion of origami and pop-up.
And look closely at this card. It's actually another reference to Candace's birthday. In the Candace Loses Her Head episode, Candace has a dream on her birthday where we see a giant cake with dancers just like this. And Candace is not pleased to be outdone again. But she gets a lifeline when Linda tells her exactly what she wants for her birthday.
All I'd really like is that dress from that cute little sundress shop.
So Candace rushes off on her bike to get it. And I think it's funny, the name of the store is Cute Little Sundress Shop. Reminds me of Super Foodstuff Mart from Roller Coaster. Danville really knows how to name their shops. As Candace rides home, the dress is eaten by moths because of Doofenshmirtz. His invention caused the blinking arrow sign to functionally disappear, leading a truck full of live moths to crash into a giant sinkhole. And when she gets home, she is outdone again. This time Isabella is modeling a sundress for Linda, who's seated in a throne in the tree with a crown. A few things here. Number one, Ferb is holding a mic even though he doesn't say anything, reminding me of these scenes from previous episodes.
Aren't you boys a little young to be restoring a national monument?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Number two, Isabella is way too tall, so presumably she's standing on the shoulders of one of the Fireside Girls or using stilts. The moths chase after Candace as she runs screaming into the house. She avoids them by going into the room with the instruments where she tries to play the song she wrote for her mom. But again, she's foiled by Doofenshmirtz's invention, which makes all the instruments that start with the letter B disappear. And I love this title card, which is likely a reference to the famous one used in SpongeBob, which Dan Povenmire also helped to create. So Candace goes back outside where the boys let her press play on their birthday video for their mom, which is hilariously made to look and sound like a homemade video, walking through the different eras of Linda's life.
From the 80s to the 90s. Mom enchants everyone she meets.
At first, Candace is not impressed, although Isabella is very enthralled. She keeps this face for several minutes straight. I love the detail here on their wedding picture that there's a finger in front of the lens, a classic mistake that always seems to happen to the most important photos. I just love the fact that whoever was animating this took the time to include that detail. And then the video pays off Phineas's idea at the beginning of the episode, with a recording of Candace singing her song. And Mrs. Johnson is jamming out over there while no one else is dancing. It looks like the Ferbettes join in the singing. Little does Linda know she's getting a live Phineas and the Ferb Tones concert. And the only one who loves it more than Mrs. Johnson is Linda, who's moved to tears and runs to hug Candace. But no good deed goes unpunished, because Phineas upstages Candace one more time with a satellite call to Lawrence.
Oh, I almost forgot. We set up a satellite uplink with Dad.
Ooh, a satellite uplink?
But Candace is okay with this one because she got to share her heartfelt gift and thoughts with Linda already. Then she says to Perry,
Oh, hey, Perry. Where have you been? You missed all the fun.
and we hear Linda yell like most older adults trying to use a video call, "Can you hear me?"
Can you hear me?
Speaking of Perry, let's run through his arc in this episode. Remember how I said that I found one of the coolest Easter eggs while he enters his lair? Right here he spins a seemingly innocuous photo of him as a pet to reveal a secret door. And when he goes down the chute, you can barely see another framed photo of him, this one inside the wall, and it's a picture of him as a secret agent. I love the dichotomy between the two photos, and just the fact that Perry has a picture of himself in a place where only he will ever see it. Major Monogram gives Perry his briefing, stating that Doofenshmirtz is in his mountaintop castle laboratory. This is an interesting setting for this adventure, but I'm not sure that we ever come back to it in future episodes. Monogram explains what Doof has purchased.
And 2 animatronic wax robots. You know, like they have at theme parks. Gosh, those things give me the creeps. The way they're all robotic and waxy.
And this is probably a reference to the animatronic Hall of the Presidents attraction at Disney parks. Also, Perry's chair transforms into his jetpack, which is pretty sweet. When we first see Doofenshmirtz, he's saying,
Ah, the Unicorn Whisperer, the feel-good movie of the year. And soon it will be gone!
which is a parody of the 1998 film The Horse Whisperer. In fact, there's an entire episode titled The Lizard Whisperer, which is also a nod to this film. Perry jumps through the window and Doof gives him all the sass before revealing his new muscle.
Oh no! It's Perry the Platypus! Ha! I fooled you, Perry the Platypus. I'm not really scared. I'm not scared because I have a new security system. Voila! Do you like them, Perry the Platypus?
Doof says,
I got them very cheap from a wax museum that went bankrupt.
which is likely a reference to Movieland Wax Museum, which was the largest wax museum in the US, located close to Disneyland in California, which auctioned off its wax figures when it went out of business in 2005. So Doofenshmirtz's plan is to get rid of things that he doesn't like, including blinking traffic arrows, ear hair, pelicans, and musical instruments that start with the letter B. When he shows Perry his invention, he subverts expectations by saying,
Behold, Perry the Platypus, Shrinkspheria! You like it? I was going to call it a shrinkinator, but I've done that whole inator thing before. It's just been done to death.
Shrinkspheria shrinks things so small that they are basically rendered obsolete. After explaining the scheme, Doofenshmirtz leaves, saying,
Enjoy your presidential suite!
which is a play on words referencing the wax presidents holding Perry back. The first thing Dr. D gets rid of is blinking detour signs, which is eventually what causes the moths to eat the dress that Candace bought. Perry escapes by dropping the candle chandelier and melting the wax figures. A few things on this. One, it's another great excuse for me to use this clip.
Strange. That usually works.
2, the candles melt the wax, but wouldn't the exoskeleton still be holding Perry? 3, while the robots are melting, we hear the Star-Spangled Banner in the style of Jimi Hendrix.
I cannot tell.
4, the George Washington robot says, I cannot tell a lie, I'm melting,
I cannot tell a lie. I'm melting.
which is a reference to the president's famous quote, and also the Wizard of Oz. Then Doofenshmirtz accidentally gets rid of musical instruments that start with the letter B, again frustrating Candace. Which we learn in a future episode that she plays 20 total instruments that start with the letter B. Crazy.
I mean, come on. I played 20 instruments. Yeah, that all start with the letter B, as in boring.
Perry trips Dr. D and we get this gem of a freeze frame. Then the exoskeletons try to get Perry, but are too heavy for Shrinkspheria and fall right through, causing the whole thing to explode. Doofenshmirtz says,
Curse you, Perry the Platypus!
I guess Vanessa was right.
He'll be okay. He blows up all the time.
Perry, though, takes his parachute peacefully back to home, where the episode ends. Okay, so I want to hear from you. Comment down below if you think this episode is underrated. If you want to see a breakdown of the #1 voted Phineas and Ferb song, make sure to check out this video right here. Thanks for joining me. Happy Mother's Day. And until next time, remember, there's no platypus controlling you.
There's no platypus controlling me!
Well, it counts. It doesn't matter.
Real